different tier. You get iron. You don't just make an iron sword. In Skyrim, an iron sword was level 2. Every iron sword you made was level 2, no matter how you made it. Until, like, you could improve the quality, but you can do that in this game as well to improve the damages and stuff like that. They brought that over, the fine, the superior quality, the artifact quality, and the legendary quality. They brought that over from Skyrim, which is really awesome. But they actually allow you to, when you're making a weapon, by adding more bars. Say an iron dagger takes 3 bars of iron to make, ingots of iron. By adding more, the level goes up. And that's not including the quality. The level goes up. I think that's a really neat system. The enchanting is a little different from what you know in Skyrim. But actually, they kind of harken back a little bit to the enchanting style in Skyrim. They brought it back in a spiritual way in the other crafting, in the woodworking, in the clothing, in the blacksmithing. They brought it back because the thing you had to do in Skyrim to learn the different enchants was you had to break down an item with it. They brought that back into the other ones. The way you learn traits for items is you have to break down an item with it. So while it's not in enchanting anymore, it is in blacksmithing, in woodworking, and in the tailoring job, which I think is awesome. And I check it kind of like a Facebook game now because it takes several hours at a time to do it.
I don't know if you've been watching my stream or have checked it out at all, but in the bottom right-hand corner, on top of all my quest objectives, I actually have timers. So anywhere in the world, it'll show me how long I have left on my my stuff. Something like that will 100% break your immersion, but at the same time, I feel like every minute is precious when I'm not researching something. So I kind of want that.
I agree. And you should tell me what that add-on is, because I actually kind of want that. If it's down in the corner, like you have
can put it wherever you want. You can adjust the size however you want. So the add-on is literally just called, I think, research timers. So
I'm gonna have to look that up. You get that on ESO UI?
Yep.
Okay, I'm gonna look that up after that because I really want that. Because I agree. I actually been setting every time I do something. It's like, okay, 6 hours. So that is. All right, it's 4 o'clock now, so at 10 p.m., set an alarm so my phone dings when it's time to research again. But I agree with you. I actually really like that. That's really cool. Because if you're not in, it does ding if you're in game up in the corner because you have finished researching. But if you're in the middle of a fight, I don't hear that little ding. So those timers would be nice to have. All right. How about we go to Krabby next? What do you think about crafting, gathering?
I think the crafting in this game is much better than any other Elder Scrolls game. I think it's very it's not complicated, but there's a good bit to it. And when you learn how to use it, it's really rewarding. I've been doing a lot of the crafting, and I do crafting in every Elder Scrolls game, and this is by far my favorite. Skyrim, actually, I'd be lying. I can't even remember how crafting was in Oblivion, if there even was crafting. But in Skyrim, it was pretty straightforward. You know, you make this, you enchant it, you're good to go. There's just so much more to it in this game, and I love it. And, you know, for an MMO, it needed to have an interesting crafting system because so many MMOs have awful crafting where it's useless by the time you're done using it.
Right.
And
plus,
it's just rewarding in this game. It's awesome.
It is. And because they want you to know that the best gear you can get in the game, you can get from crafting. The crafters can improve the best gear that drops. So while crafters make their own item sets and stuff like that, there are unique items in the world that only can be gotten from world drops, but crafters can make them better. So that is awesome. All right. Thais, crafting.
The only...
Is there a motorcycle in Tamriel? That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's a gorgeous day where we live, and we live in the country, so there's been motorcycles all day. I'm kind of jealous I don't own one. Although I'm not very big, I'd probably have it fall on top of me. Crafting is... Oh, I see that you have gathering here as well, so I'm going to hit on that actually instead. The gathering, I see huge similarities between ESO and Skyrim. And in Skyrim, I gathered every single plant I could ever see. Every bug, I plucked off all the butterflies' wings because I was really into alchemy. I didn't do... I didn't do a lot of the crafting, though, in Skyrim. Not until I decided to just craft everything and max out everything, and I was like, oh, crap, I need to do that and gain some levels. Yes, exactly, the Bikers of Skyrim. That needs to be a guild. Maybe I'll make a guild and name it the Bikers of Skyrim. I mean, Bikers of Tamriel. But I really can't attribute this type of crafting system to anything else. Maybe the alchemy, you can see the beginnings of it in in the previous Elder Scrolls games, because even though it's pretty much essentially the same, just now the alchemy materials have levels so you can make better potions. Other than that, I think they did a great job of building a crafting system from the ground up, deciding how they wanted it to be, letting you be able to choose exactly what you wanted to craft. And adding the time component really makes it so that you can't just power level every crafting profession. You have to wait. And it's probably very infuriating for a lot of the people out there, the content leeches who just go through everything as soon as the game's out. It makes it so that they can't do that. They have to keep coming back and they have to check their researches. And so far, I've really been enjoying having so many choices in how I want my gear to look. Before I make anything, I always scroll through the motifs that I have and just look at the little picture of the design to see, oh, maybe I'll like that, or maybe that won't look good on me, and the girly things like that run through my head before I'm about to make gear. And
I don't mean to cut you off, but where the hell do you get motifs? Because I've looted like everything all the time, and I haven't gotten a single one.
Really?
Yeah. On 3 different characters.
So many.
On 3 different characters, I've looted like everything on the planet, and I've never gotten a motif. Do they just
Finally,
drop in
someone less lucky than you?
I
No,
mean,
they literally are a rare drop out of like chests, drawers, and cities.
Trash
Everything.
Nuts.
I've gotten motifs out of bags. I've gotten them out of the trunks. I've gotten them out of drawers. I've gotten them off of anything you can search inside, you can get it.
I've not... Okay. There's certain things, like, this is all things you can find in a city, okay? I've not found them in bags, because most of the time when in the sack-looking things, I've not seen anything, because most of those are crafting mats. I found them in backpacks. I found them in desks that are lootable. I found them in trunks and chests that are inside the houses. And every so often in a bookcase or in a not a bookcase, but a lootable book drawer, if you will. It's like a cabinet, are in closets.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the only places I've found them. I've not found them in in the baskets, because most of the time when you open baskets or the bags, it's crafting mat, produce, and stuff like that. Only the thing. If you could logically say you would store a book there in real life, that's where you might have a chance of finding one.
I mean, it was just crazy.
When I said bag, I meant backpack, so thank you for
on
clearing that up.
On the beta, I found like a ton of motifs, even in Cold Harbor, and I haven't found a single one on any character I've made. It's crazy.
That is so surprising, because Ag and I have sold at least 3 each. Like, I've sold 3, and he's sold 3, and we've sold them for quite a lot, because we keep finding them, but it's not ones that we need is ones that we already have. But don't worry, the next time I find one, I will give it to you. It
I
has
honestly,
your name written on it.
I honestly only really want to get the high elf one because the high elf light armor is sexy.
I have the high elf, and I agree. I like their heavy armor too.
Yeah.
Um, I just like wing motifs, so naturally,
People
I
in
like
chat
those.
are saying banks and taverns, so I'm gonna go to all the taverns in Mournhold and just loot everything and see what happens.
It's true.
Right now.
Unless you're ag. If you're ag, you can find them everywhere. It doesn't matter where you are. You could be in the middle of a cave and it could be hidden on a dead body in the back corner under a river where there's no possible way you can actually get to this dead body. He'll find it. There are so many times he's found recipes and I just want to punch him.
Monsters' attacks get taken away. They literally just throw them at me. So it's
They
like
throw
instead of having a
motifs
sword,
at
they
you.
drop their sword and they throw motif books at me. I get hit in the head. I'm like, ow, that hurt. Oh, look, high elf. Yeah, so that's where those are, and I like this. The one thing I did notice, and it is a difference, is you notice that for alchemy, the bugs are either used for fishing or for cooking, not alchemy like they were in Skyrim.
Yeah, I noticed that. A lot of
I
it's
have
bait.
noticed that. And I don't like that at all. I miss that you can't, this is going to sound very morbid, not that I would do this in real life, but I miss that you can't pluck the wings off butterflies and use them for alchemy potions. I kind of enjoyed that, trying to find all the different bugs and the little glowworms and all those different interesting components needed for alchemy. Instead, it's all plants, and that just makes me sad on the inside.
Right, right. Okay, next up, the immersion and quest of the game.
I would definitely say that you should try crafting, but I would not go with provisioning first because there's just so many mats. If you are starved for bank space or bag space, definitely don't go with provisioning. Go with woodworking, clothing, or blacksmithing.
As a note, anyone who would like to join the Tales of Tamriel Guild can do so by messaging Adagelos or Krabby, and we'll get you in there because we want to open up the bag space so we can store all the stuff in the guild bank. Okay, thank you. All right, immersion and quest. How do you guys feel that the game immersion and how quests are presented, how does this feel towards the other test games? Thais, why don't you go first?
Oh my gosh, I'm already gonna cry. The immersion.
Don't tell any of your story. That's in the tales. It's vague.
All right, I'll be vague. All right. Just like every other ESO game I've played, ES game that I've played, from Morrowind to Oblivion to Skyrim, now to ESO, all of the quests make you love your characters. The quests are amazing. The story that they tell, you are completely wrapped in the story. Even if it's just that quest for that area, you are completely you're just, oh my gosh, the story, doesn't matter who it is, you're in tune with it. And
I
love
have
it.
to stop her real quick. Krabby, why is it you're sitting here staring at a Nord dancing?
Because he is dancing so ridiculously drunk right now. It is very funny.
Yeah, I'm just sitting here looking at the stream. I'm like, why is he sitting here staring at a Nord dancing? That's
Okay.
all he's doing on the stream at the moment. All right. Anything else for the immersion and quest?
Well, now that you broke my immersion and trying to explain, all the games link together and how good the quests are and the immersion is. In every game, they've made you fall in love with specific characters. They've made you fall in love with the story and the events that are taking place. And that is one thing that I have to applaud them on this, because it's really hard to invoke that kind of catharsis on anybody. And they do it so well.
All right, Krabby, what do you think? Immersion and Quest.
I gotta say, there's already characters in this game that make me angry. Sheogorath makes me so aggravated. I mean, I
I
know
love him.
I'll actually tell a little story later in the Tales thing about him, but my goodness, like, he is aggravating. Um, Sometimes I'll just click through quests because I know it's clearly oh, you should save this town and kill 5 of these guys. But some of them are really good. Like, you will start to care about characters
Oh yeah.
and care what
Oh, yeah.
happens. There are quests where, oh, do you want to kill this person or that person? I mean, the only problem with those kill quests is generally you don't really know them that well. Like people die all over the place because of you or live because of you, and you generally have only been with them for like 10 minutes, so you don't really care. But it's still the fact that it's that's an option is pretty cool. I think the way the quests are in the game is great. The immersion is definitely there. There's a good amount of humor. Like, the humor in the game is awesome. I ran across the actual Naked Nord earlier, and it was hilarious. Like, stuff like that is just so funny.
I think immersion in this game, it's a lot like Skyrim, a little bit more like Oblivion. Not quite like Morrowind was an older game, and therefore the NPCs didn't really wander out as much. It was kind of went into town, you picked up all your stuff, and you kind of left to an extent. Less so in Morrowind than the other ones, at least from my experience of playing it. But oh my goodness, if you like. We normally, before when we played MMOs, we would turn our Netflix on, we'd watch Netflix, and we'd play the games. I turn Netflix off now. I turn my volume straight up, and we listen to the music. We listen to all of the quests, because it's all voice acted. And I would recommend people doing this, because it is absolutely amazing when you sit here and listen.
I have to say that Krabby and Ag have both broken me. And if anyone has listened to any of our previous podcasts, which I assume most of you have, I now play ESO with my sound on, my music blaring. I listen to all of the voice acting, and I could not be happier about it. It's been such an amazing experience having the full effect of just even the world sounds and the water, and it's just I'm loving it.
There's one particular song that gets played once in a while that they remade for ESO. It might be Watchman's Eve or something like
It is.
that song. When I hear that, I'm like, oh man, this song is just awesome. Like, I get like chills. I'm like, oh, this song is Elder Scrolls. Like, the music in this game is just phenomenal.
The world sounds are great.
I found that switching between fire spells and lightning spells, that lightning has like a awesome crackle that I just love. It's great. The sound effects and music are just great in this game.
I love how the immersion is where you really can just start running in a random direction, and someone will run up to you, or you'll stumble upon someone, and they'll have a quest, and you can pick it up and go.
I was doing that earlier on the stream. I'm not trying to quest because I want to actually listen to those later when we're not streaming, but I'm just running around and I'm just finding stuff like everywhere. I probably found about 9 lore books. I wasn't even looking for them.
It is a fantastic game with immersion. You really do feel sucked into it, and I haven't felt this way about a game in a long time, where I lose track of time.
I'm addicted. I am straight up addicted to this game. Like, and it's crazy because look. All right, now let's be honest. All right, there technically is no PvE endgame in the game at the moment. Sure, it's coming soon, but even knowing that, I am addicted to this game. Like, it's bad. It's crazy.
I know. I know it's like a crack addict. It really is because I've been playing and other games I would know when my time was up. Like, okay, I'm at 10 o'clock. I'm getting off. All right, what am I kidding? 8 o'clock. I'm going to bed, and that's like at 8. I would be looking at my phone going 7:30. All right, well I'll just push through for another 30 minutes or so, and then we'll. But this game, I'm like I should go to bed at 8, and I look over at my phone. 11:30. When did that happen?
That's why I have the little clock in the top left of my screen.
I still wouldn't look at it. I mean, other games have had those.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. Even if I had it, because when you open up your menu, you do see the clock, and I open my menu very frequently. It's just I'm always so wrapped up, or like even getting ready for this show was hard because we were playing and working on a quest, and I had to go. Okay, we finished, and it's like okay, we must go kill this person. Let's go. And it's starting to really get you pumped up, and I'm like. Oh, I gotta log off now because there's a show I gotta do. I gotta get ready. But I'm sitting there going, I knew I had to start the show. I'm like, okay, we'll just finish this one quest. That one quest turned into, okay, well we have to finish this one because it kind of follows in with it. You know, I can't stop now. I had to force myself to get off and not finish the quest chain. I mean, no, I gotta stop here. If I don't log off now, I'm gonna miss the show. So. I love the immersion of this game, and to be honest, I'll be honest. I'm worried about the end game still because I don't know what it is. It sounds fun, but I haven't played it yet, so I don't know what the stickiness of it is. If you're used to that term stickiness, how much it makes you want to go back and keep doing it. I don't know. I think the game's worth it just for the leveling experience. If I finish the storylines and all the quests and stuff like that, and it's not for me, it's worth the money just for that, because it's been so good all the way up to there. So, I adore it. All right. Anyone have anything else? Actually, hold on. We had one more question in the chat. What was it that you would have liked to be brought into ESO from maybe one of the other games? Krabby, go first.
From the other games...
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. You know, a little stupid thing. Housing. I loved Hearthfire expansion from Skyrim. I would love a housing system in this game in any
If
form.
housing gets in this game, I'm done. I literally will not.
Yeah, me
any
too.
other games, I'm probably gonna lose my job.
Housing definitely. That would be
Right.
my thing.
Face.
You know, I'd have to say housing. Definitely. I want to see housing in ESO more than anything else on the planet. More than owning another Khajiit, I want housing in ESO.
All right, since you guys all said housing, I'm gonna go with something different. I would like the ability to swim underwater and explore things in a limited fashion, like having the breath bar where your health goes down and you have to search. I think that would be neat. Like, because in Skyrim, I know it was limited, but it was limited that you couldn't go down unless you were an Argonian. But like you could, there were ships and stuff that were underwater. You could swim down and get treasure. I would like to see like puddles of, like pools of water that you have to swim down and open chests and stuff, and maybe make it a time event. Like you have to swim down, find the chest, pick it, get the stuff, and get back up before you die. I mean, it sounds dumb, but if for a little thing, I think that'd be kind of neat. 59 Diesel in chat says crafting mats not taking over bank spaces.
Oh,
I
God.
doubt that will ever happen.
That'll never happen, but my goodness, I would love that to happen.
Well, here's the problem with that. And I agree, as much as if they said, okay, we're removing that, I would probably secretly jump for joy. But there is an important thing for having them take up spots. And those reasons are it makes you make a choice whether you want to hold them. Otherwise, people will just hold crafting mats and there will be such a huge abundance of them, like people all trying to sell them because no one got rid of them. You know what I mean? Or no one would be selling them at all because everyone can just hoard them forever. So I think there needs to be spots on those, only for the fact that you want people to want to trade. You want an active economy. You don't want people hoarding, or you want people to make choices of, all right, well, I got this sword. Or like, I'm gonna go after him, get this awesome drop, but I'm gonna have to drop something out of my bags. What is it gonna be? Does this thing of wild honey mean that much to me? To a crafter, maybe it does, because maybe they are making a whole bunch of honey mead that is needed for their raid teams or their PvP for the. Because those food buffs are pretty powerful, actually. If you've not had them, they make a difference. They make a noticeable difference when you have a horde buff or a food buff, not a horde. See, 59 Diesel got me. I was reading his chat when I said that horde buff. No, a food buff. It is good. So they are beneficial to have, but if there was no penalty for holding an unlimited number of them, their worth would go to nothing because no one would either ever get rid of them or everyone would be getting rid of them and no one would want to buy them. So that's it. Anyone else have anything else before we close off the Elder Scrolls discussion topic? Anyone? No?
Nope.
All right. We are moving on to my favorite part of the show, the Tales of Tamriel. And boy, do we have a lot to say to you guys tonight. Krabby, why don't you go ahead and go first? Because Thais and I are going to, from now on, we'll probably be doing a duo thing because we always play together. So we'll be telling our stories together. And we have a lot to say. Krabby.
So, I started playing last Sunday when it was the first 5-day early access. And my first character was an Aldmeri Dominion Dunmer Dragon Knight using a fire staff, a fire destruction staff. So it was one of those typical things people heard all the time. Long story short, I didn't really like it, so I re-rolled to my new character. But when I was playing the Aldmeri Dominion Dragon Knight, this is earlier when I was talking about hating Sheogorath, this is why I'm saying that. So, I'm running around questing, and what zone was I even in? I think I was in. Yes, I was in. Was it Greenshade? It was. Yeah, I was in. No, it was Grotwood. I was in Grotwood, and I come across, and I just run around exploring, and I came across this city. I believe it was called South Point, and the quest giver outside is like, oh my god, everybody in the city is going crazy and they're just killing everybody. They're killing each other and and there's storms and everything is just nuts. And I was like, well, this sounds interesting. Let's do this. So I have this old lady following me around, and she's like, I can reverse all of this if you help me get my books or something. Well, we eventually go into the town hall while everyone's killing each other, and there is the mayor talking with Sheogorath, just talking. And apparently this guy wanted power, so Sheogorath would make everybody go crazy to give him power. It was a weird power. I can't remember the exact thing of it, but it was a weird power thing. So
probably the ability to slice cheese in nice even
something
squares.
ridiculous. But anyway, I tell Sheogorath I want to reverse all this, and he's like, okay, if you survive my trials, then we'll do this. And I was like, all right, sweet. So he sends me to his Daedric realm, whatever the hell it's called, and he's like, all right, I need you to. There's bridges, and he's like, I want you to go across these bridges, but they're all up. All you have to do is flip a lever, and the bridge will go down. And I was like, okay, awesome. The first bridge I come across, the bridge is already down. I get within 3 feet of the bridge, and he goes, oops, I didn't mean to leave that down, and he raised it back up. And I was like, you jerk. So I had to fight like 7 mobs to get to the lever, and I'm underleveled for this. So I was actually struggling a little bit. So I got that one down. Go to the next bridge, and it's down. The bridge is up, and I had to do the same thing again. Got across, flipped the lever, got across the bridge. Go to the last bridge. The bridge was up, and I flipped the lever, and I think he flipped it back down on me. and I had to flip the lever again. And I was like, oh, it was just infuriating me because he was trying to hinder my progress through the whole thing. And that was long.
So this isn't a game-breaking bug that people were complaining about going, oh, it's breaking
No,
our game, I'm
this
blocking
is-
progress. Sheogorath was
He's
literally
being
blocking
a
your progress.
total jerk face. It was so frustrating. And, it took me a little bit because I was underleveled, so I was like, alright, I'm done. And he's like, oh, wait, actually, there's a play. Wait. He made me do a play, but I forget if the play was part of the Mages Guild or part of the South Point stuff. I don't know. But anyway, I eventually do all of his trials, and the town kind of goes back to normal. It's just, the whole point of that story was how much he frustrates me, but I also love the fact how they have like the most lighthearted Daedric Prince so injected into the game. Like he is all over the place, and I think it's awesome because he's on the Mages Guild, he's in random quests throughout the game. Like it's great. I mean he frustrates me, but I love seeing him because he frustrates me. So
I love Sheogorath.
yeah, yeah. That's my little spiel about him. He's the biggest trolling Daedric Prince in the game.
He really is. Love him. All right. Is that the end of your tales for this week, Krabby?
Yep. Yeah. I did all that, and I decided that I did not like saying "for the Queen," and I did not like the. I mean, it might be very weird, but I don't like any of the races in Aldmeri Dominion's architecture. The Bosmer houses look like sticks. The High Elves' architecture looks alright. Khajiit I didn't really care for. I love Ebonheart Pact. I can't. It made the game a lot more fun to play on the faction I really wanted to play on.
Right.
It's one of those things, like, I played on Aldmeri Dominion for the guild I was in, and I'm still in that guild, I just can't play on that faction. It's not for me.
Yeah, and plus, I mean, we do have the coolest tagline. I mean, Blood for the Pact, come on.
Mm-hmm.
Better than For the Queen. And what is Daggerfall Covenant? They're a bunch of merchants?
I don't know.
Death and taxes?
I don't know. Yeah, death and taxes.
Death and taxes! That's the Daggerfall Covenant, death and taxes.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, we have the coolest phrase, Blood for the Pact.
Yeah, but that is
Anyway,
my story for the week.
Let's see here. I actually asked in chat what was your favorite Daedric Prince, since I love Sheogorath. He's my favorite to listen to. I love just talking to him. In Skyrim and any of the other games, anytime I could talk to him, I would go through every dialogue option just because I think he's hilarious. But Arcanar is saying Meridia, but I follow Sithis, though he's not really a Daedric Prince. Yeah, Sithis.
Nocturnal. That is my favorite Daedric Prince.
She's hot. I mean, she's awesome.
She's awesome. I mean, yeah, all that stealth and stuff. Yeah. I mean, technically, yeah, but you gotta think about it. While she takes a female form, they have no genders.
That's true. Azura is
like even
clearly
Meridia
a
takes a female
and...
form.
Yeah.
Boethia is one of the most interesting cases of this because she's like called the Prince of Destruction, the Queen of Conspiracy. Like they throw male pronoun, female pronoun, male pronoun, female pronoun.
Mm-hmm.
Orzammar Reborn is Daggerfall. No one cares about the orcs. No one likes them. Not even the orcs like each other. Actually, I specifically remember reading a book where the orcs don't even like Daggerfall Covenant because they were saying how, like, oh, we're supposed to forget the burning of Orsinium and stuff like that. Like, you don't understand the orcs. The orcs don't forgive. We're not allowed to forgive. We have to pay back in kind. So I like the orcs in that manner, but like even their founding into the Daggerfall Covenant, it's kind of like, yeah, we're still gonna kick you in the butt one day, but we'll wait till everything else is done. So, interesting. All right, now it is time for Thais and I as we tell our tales in Elder Scrolls Online. I've been going through some bullet points. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read off the bullet points because we're going to do this together and we're going to kind of talk about it in that manner. So if I read off a bullet point, it doesn't quite make sense to you. Please keep in mind I write these while we're playing, so it's just a reminder for me, and we'll make it clear. So the first two bullet points that we have is finally out of Cold Harbor and working with Thais on gathering. So we finally made it out of Cold Harbor on our mains. We started playing together, and I'm gonna tell everyone this. At my max, I had 537 lockpicks.
Wow.
There were not enough chests in all of Tamriel for me to use those.
You know what's funny?
So
I think I've broken 3 lockpicks and I have about 200.
Yeah,
they're kind of hard to break.
Enough to make it matter. So yeah, I've had so many. I've actually started giving them away. I gave like 100 to Thais. One of the other guildies said they were out of lockpicks. I sent them 150. So now I'm back down to, I think, 200 and something. Back down to a more reasonable level. But because Thais and I were both decided to work on gathering, Thais, what are you focusing on for your character?
See, that's really hard to say because at the beginning I was only going to focus on alchemy and clothing until I realized that you don't really you lose more in not doing all three. But I'm still focusing more on clothing and gathering, and when Ag reaches a certain point in how much ore he has, then he starts sharing the iron nodes, and then I start sharing my jute nodes. So yeah, I'm doing more alchemy and more clothing than anything else, except for Nirnroot. Ag and I are always in war over Nirnroot.
I will never let her have Nirnroot. It's mine, all of it.
So as soon as one of us starts hearing that gentle tingling hum of the Nirnroot, we both start freaking out and racing towards whatever water we find.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just we both gather all kinds of stuff and we take turns. We are really good sharers with each other.
Except for with Nirnroot. I already told her if she steals my Nirnroot, I will divorce her. And then when we're in court, they'll be like, "Why are you divorcing her?" And I'll be like, "Because she stole my Nirnroot." Duh. So it shows here you are suing your wife for stealing your Nirnroot, and you require a dozen Nirnroot in compensation. So you have thousands of dollars in legal fines, but you want her to give you 12 in-game Nirnroot. Yes, sir. That's what I want. All right, moving on to the next part. We immediately left Davin's Watch and journeyed to the Bleak Rock Isle. And then I have a note saying, talk about adventures on Bleak Rock.
I've never seen a red guy.
For Bleak Rock, it was kind of neat because there was no one on Bleak Rock. Like, when we were doing it, no one was there. So it was actually a really good time for us.
We gathered everything. It did not matter what we were doing. If we were heading north to do so-and-so objective and that's what we wanted to do, all of a sudden we were both south 5 miles in the opposite direction because we wandered off to gather everything because no one was around.
It was really neat. And I love Bleak Rock Island. It's one of my favorite. Like, even when I started in the first betas where they added it in there and then they removed the starter islands, we didn't want to do that. We went back and we did it like it was originally in beta. Bleak Rock to Belfolien and then into Stone Falls. But some of the adventures, like when you're going around trying to figure out, it's really neat because they do introduce to you the Alliance War. And one of my favorite, this is one that I wanted to talk about, the Iceman in the cave to the north. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about, the Iceman.
Oh, he was so creepy. Every time it took till the end of the quest for me to figure out exactly what he was talking about. And I don't know, should I give spoilers? Do you think enough people have done Bleak Rock by now?
Let's keep it vague.
Iceman, are you
Try
talking
to-
about... What? I'm trying to
A
think.
little bit. Well, one of the things that it was. Well, we can go in a little bit. We'll try to keep it a little vague, because I don't want to spoil it for new people who come in and stuff like that. So I'm not going to go word for word for the quest, but we can go on from there. When you go in, you have to rescue a guy who is captured by someone that they call like the Iceman. Someone he's a spirit haunting the cave.
Oh,
And-
okay.
He's stuck in the ice, and he's so creepy because he's like insane. The spirit is insane, and his voice he kind of goes like, "I used to have friends till the shiny rocks got them. They'll get you too."
It took till the end of the quest for me to figure out what the shiny rocks were, and I now know what they are. And anybody in chat, so I don't have to say it out loud, if you want me to tell you what the shiny rocks are, I will. And after I tell you, you'll be so creeped out.
Do it.
Because he starts talking about his friends and how this friend left because of this, and there was this reason that he left, and they transformed into something else, and just all these different
I
things.
love it.
And it always came back to the shiny rocks got them.
I'd be
And
honored to help
you
any
really
way I
have to
can.
figure out what the shiny
What do you
rocks
mean?
mean,
As a
because
dried
once you
animal?
figure it out, you are
Is that from
just
a goat?
you are sickened on the
We
inside.
have so little after the destruction.
Executive decision. Go ahead and tell him.
Take this loaf.
Alright, by the end of the quest, I finally figured out that the shiny rocks he's referring to are his teeth, because he is a Bosmer, which are, you
Mhm.
know, the cannibal elves.
When his friends died, he trapped their spirits in different items. Like he's like, I miss Shanira, but now she's a lamppost. Like you go in and it's all his friends. He trapped their spirits in different pieces of furniture he had because he was a mage. But then being a Bosmer, he had to eat them.
And he's always saying that to be careful because the shiny rocks might get you, and to be wary of the shiny rocks. And he's talking about his teeth.
Am I dying?
I love him because he keeps like, you'd make an excellent squirrel. I love it. It just creeps me out. But that was one of my favorite, probably is my favorite quest on Bleak Rock.
I'm glad I was able to get that out. I'll try to avoid spoilers from now on. See, Arcaneer, I was trying really hard to avoid the spoilers, but I couldn't hold it in anymore. Yes, by the end of that quest, the shiny rocks are his teeth. Okay, I feel better.
And by spoilers, let's just not give the names of the people. We can give vague how things are going, but I don't want to, then if I say, oh, it was Gerald at Devin's Watch, whenever you see a guy named Gerald with an arrow above his head, you're like, this is the one they're talking about. If we're vague, then maybe people will pick into it, but we just won't give names. All right. Is there anything else you want to talk about Bleak Rock? I mean, generally, we've been through it a bunch of times. You rescue all the villagers and leave. It looks like one of our members in chat here is a little disturbed by your quest.
I told you it was very disturbing. And if you ever go back and do the quest again, just pay close attention to the words that he uses and when he talks about the shiny stones. And now, even though I told you, but you'll still be able to hear it and you'll be able to understand. They did a good job of not making it obvious, but once I figured it out, that was it.
It definitely was very interesting. So when we finished our adventures in Bleak Rock, we moved on to Balfulian. And Balfulian, this is one of the first things where they really get you in. They make you make choices
Right in the fields.
in the game.
Right in the fields.
Right in the fields. And they make you feel for characters because they're introducing you to characters. And one of the things I love most about the game is characters you've completed quests for follow you throughout. Like you will find them in the other cities. You might have helped them in Bleak Rock. Like in Bleak Rock, you help out all these people and they follow you. You find them in Balfulian. You find them in Davin's Watch. You find them in Ebonheart. Like they follow you around as you're progressing the stories. But in Balfulian, there was a quest that we had to near the very end of the quest line where we had to make a choice. The choice was we were assaulting the docks because the Daggerfall Covenant had made it inland through the docks, and we're assaulting Fort. I think it was it Farron? They were assaulting the one keep that was pretty much the access way into Stone Falls. We had to make a choice whether or not to help the one character that came with us. Like, both are characters that followed us in Bleak Rock. We had a choice to make. Who do we want to help? Do we want to help the person mounting the defense of Fort Varon, or do we want to help the person making the assault on the docks? As we were going through, we actually did this in a role play kind of way, trying to rationalize how we wanted to do this. And in our minds, we were like, okay, well, I said, here's the thing. If we get to the docks and we take the docks, the Daggerfall Covenant could come up and do a pincer move to us. Like, we'd be stuck between the men defending the docks and the men who are assaulting the fort. If we go to the fort, we can push them out of the fort and right into the sea because they'll have nowhere to go. So we decided we were going to help out the fort. We fought at the fort and we pushed out the Daggerfall Covenant from the fort. And we became the heroes who cleared out the Daggerfall Covenant at Fort Varon. On the way out, we meet one of the lieutenants who was there, giving us a report saying that we were glad you were here. We could have used you at the docks, though, because we had a lot of casualties. And you can actually ask about it. And it's like, they're like, oh, those people, like, because you ask about your friends who were there, and they're like, oh, we were unfortunate to tell you this, but they were part of the casualties.
Captain Raina died in yours?
Yep.
Wow.
It was heartbreaking.
I totally
because-
went there because I wanted her to live. That's the only reason I did the docks.
Well, at that point, we hadn't known that it was life or death. Like, we didn't know. At that point, we didn't realize that our decisions would that any decision we make would ultimately lead in somebody dying. We did not know this. So we tried to rationalize it, although I do have to stop for a second and say, I wanted to go to the docks. But Ag's rationalization was that the fort needed us more, so that's where we went. And when we found out that that's what happened to her, and she was one of the ones who rescued us from the sea after we came back from Cold Harbor, it was just, I could not believe it. And then later on, when we get more into the story, there's something else that happens that's just so very sad. All right, go ahead.
Well, here's a little public service tip for people. When you go around, the first thing you should do when you make it in Davin's Watch, or any of the first ones, is we made for the tavern called the Fish Stink. It was literally called the Fish Stink. I don't get whatever. But that's where the Undaunted is. Like, you should always go pick up the Undaunted, the Fighters Guild, and the Mages Guild right off the bat so that you can start leveling those up. If you talk to everyone in the one of the people in chats, I'm a Daggerfall Covenant, and now I feel bad. Like, I was in that war as a DC soldier. It's all your fault Captain Raina died. You're a terrible person.
Not just Captain Rana, but you also killed her one and only daughter. You should feel horrible.
As well
Was
as
the daughter at the
Earthturner
docks
daughter.
too?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
she
you
was.
guys are awful.
I know.
Can't believe you did that.
Terrible.
Wait, it only gets worse. We'll tell you why it gets worse in a little bit. You'll understand why I actually cried.
I'll understand why you're such a
I
horrible
cried.
person.
Blame Ag. Oh wait, it gets even worse after. Oh my gosh. Okay.
We got a lot. All right, let's continue on. So make sure you talk to everyone, reading all the books. But if you talk to everyone in the inn, the different people will mark things on your map and give you skill points. So the first thing you really should do when you go into, just like you can do in Skyrim, if you go into the taverns and talk to people, they will actually give you rumors about like public dungeons in the area and mark
Really?
them on your maps for you. Yes, they will.
I did not know that. That's
Uh-huh.
awesome. I gotta go do
So
that.
like when we went into the fish stink, like just so you can see that I'm right. Make a new character. First thing you do, you just skip it. You'll wake up in Davin's Watch, run right down to the fish stink, and start talking to the different people standing up around the area, and they will mark on your map the different public dungeons in Stone Falls. So it's really really neat. And to Arcan areas, actually, it was Captain Rana, her sergeant, which I believe was her daughter, actually. Her daughter, and then also the daughter of an older lady in Bleak Rock with the last name of Turn Earth or Earth Turner. Oh my goodness, it's true. I feel terrible when you do this. It's like, and we'll get on to that after this. So we finished our first public dungeon, the Crow's Wood, together, and that was a lot of fun. They're a little too easy yet, but again, it's leveling ones, so it's not too terrible. You can't really do it by yourself, but duos
That
okay.
last
Maybe
boss
three
in
people.
Crowswood, you cannot solo that, unless you're way over leveled for it.
Oh yeah, no. You can duo. I would say duo you could do fairly easily through the entire thing. The final bosses may need more than two, unless one person has healing, in which case you could probably duo it still. But public dungeons are fun. They are a lot of fun. We actually ran through it with Krabby and I think Kipster from the Tales of Tamriel guild that we were in. We just did it all together just for fun. The next part, while we were making our way out of the Crow's Wood, we decided we were going to go sell. And we went up to the bank, and I wanted to jump into another area. So I jumped over the wall and landed in this one section. And this is where it really stuck home what had happened. We stumbled upon Captain Rana's funeral. Her and her sergeant were laid out. All the people from Bleak Rock were there at a funeral for Captain Rana. And like when you talk to the Earth Turners, the whole family's there. The brother and the son and the father who you helped at the fort were like, we just can't believe she's gone. Our only daughter. You talk to the mother. She won't even say anything. She's just bawling her eyes out. And that's all. Like when you talk to her, all you hear is it's just a sobbing, and it's terrible. And you see both of them laying on the stone slabs. It's a funeral. Like you find out, like literally, they followed you. Not just the NPC going, oh yeah, they died. This wasn't even a quest. I just happened to stumble upon it that they were burying like our comrades. They were laying out there with their swords and their armor. The ancient medieval warrior death where they were holding their swords over their chests, being prepared for burial.
It was just one of the worst gaming experiences ever. Stumbling upon the funeral of Captain Rana and her daughter. And, I'm not good with death in real life, so stumbling upon this funeral for two people that, Captain Rana, who...
I was going to say, and this is how, I guess, cruel I am, because I stopped, like, I was running, she was following me just blindly, and I just stopped. She's like, what's up? I'm like, oh my goodness, you have to come over here and see this. She comes over and all I just hear, oh my goodness.
I had, a tear roll down my cheek when I noticed that it was Captain Rana laying on this metal altar, not metal, this stone altar. And you're able to look back and forth between Rana and her sergeant, who was her daughter, just back and forth. And when you talk to all the NPCs, they are so very sad. And it was quite an experience, because in any other game, you do a quest and that's it. The quest is over. But this actually it follows you, and it was I want to say amazing, but at the same time just epically heartbreaking.
So after seeing that, we continued through the storyline and we saved Davin's Watch. I'm not going to go through any of that because that's an epic storyline in and of itself. But we forced the Covenant out of the city and we moved into Stone Falls. Here's another question that as we were fighting, one of the quests outside in a place called the Killing Fields or the Dying Fields, I can't remember, but it's right outside of Davin's Watch. You're given another option of how do you want to complete this quest. You're fighting undead Chimera spirits, and the two people are asking. One person says we can enslave them in these amulets and then summon these army of spirits to help defend. And that was a Dunmer saying that. And then there was a Argonian who was like, it's not right for us to enslave the dead. That's the worst thing you can do. We should free their spirits. If we free the spirits of the generals, the soldiers will follow. We will find another way to force the Covenant out. And as we were sitting here trying to figure out what we want to do, I agreed with the Argonian because I felt that trapping the spirits was almost too much like necromancy to begin with. Trapping the spirits of the dead. So we decided we were going to aid the Argonian and free the spirits. After we free the spirits, however, the land is scourged, it's burned, it's a mess. And I think I'm going to let Thais tell the next part of this story.
I might cry. Okay, so this is I am now the biggest Argonian lover on the planet. You know, Ag told me before that the Argonians were the hippies of the Elder Scrolls universe, but I never really understood until this quest. After you free the spirits, you know, we freed the spirits and the land was just ravaged. And this Argonian says, you know, we have a plan to try and bring back grass and water to these fields, to try and breathe life into these fields.
I think the exact line was, you've sacrificed so much to save this land, let us do our part.
And all she wants us to do was she wanted us to gather mushrooms. So, you know, we go into this cave, we fight, you know, a few more things.
And the key point here of this is even when she said that, she's not telling us what her plan is. She says, go find the mushroom caps and deliver it to my students. They know what to do.
So when we gather these mushrooms and we go because we have to talk to her, and we talk to her, and, you know, we have these mushrooms, and she goes, no, I don't want the mushrooms yet. Don't give them to me yet. Give them to my assistants first. They will know what to do with them. So then at this point I'm already like, wait a minute, I'm not quite sure what's gonna happen here. So we go to her first assistant, and it's you know, it's another Argonian, and the Argonian is saying that, you know, when I take this mushroom, I will be sacrificing myself to the land so that the land can again grow and be fruitful. And, you know, this Argonian takes this mushroom, and her spirit just disintegrates into the land, and you see her spirit flow over this plant and this patch of grass, and life springs up from where she was. And at that moment you realize, just, oh my gosh, these Argonians are, you know, giving their lives to try and bring life back to the land. And now I'm already, like, I'm really close to tears now. And now you have to give these mushrooms to her second assistant and to her. So you go to her second assistant, and it's a man, and it's a male Argonian, and, you know, he goes, I know the sacrifice that I am making, and, you know, I'm willing to do this. And he takes the mushroom, and, you know, his spirit disintegrates and more life is breathed. And then finally you go to this female Argonian, and you give her the mushroom, and she says something along the lines of, you know, my assistants knew what they were doing. This is what they wanted to do for the land. And now it is my turn to also make a sacrifice that this land can be green once more. And then she takes the mushroom, and and that's it. You know, her life force just kind of melds into the ground around you, and that was it. After that, I could not believe that this Argonian would just so willingly give up her life force just so that the land can be green again. It was quite a powerful quest.
I'm gonna take the reins again because it looks like she's almost in tears at this point. Yeah, it's really neat how like your choices throughout the game, like most MMOs I've played, don't really give you that option of choice. Like they've done a good job of really bringing in. You have to pick, and I've come to the point where I almost hate because it's happened a couple times, and they're like, "What do you want to do?" I'm like, "No, I don't want to choose."
You know what I like? I like how you guys are
can't make me.
you guys are choosing the good options, and it somehow turns out like terrible. And like I'm choosing
Yes,
I'm choosing the
it
options that I
gets
think
better.
are evil because I'm playing like an evilish character, and they turn out to be like okay.
Oh, just wait. We have one more, I think. No, we have one or two more tragic stories to tell just from our gameplay. I think this entire time, I've felt terrible. Like everyone's cheering. I even said this to her. As you're going through the towns, everyone's like, "You're the hero that saved Fort." And I'm like, I don't feel like much of a hero. I just feel terrible. One of the characters, as we were going down, we were advancing the storylines, and I'm not going to say what the storyline was, but one of the tasks was we had to go and talk to some ancient chimera spirits who were alive back then. And Arkanar, I do the same thing. I keep getting in a habit of trying to hit like F5 to quick save and nothing. I'm like, every time I do something, crafts. I'm like, okay, save. Oh wait, that's right. This is an MMO. No saving. I almost wanted to go like, can I please just like go backwards and repeat a quest, like roll back a save and do a quest a different way. But as an MMO, you can't, and that makes it all the worse because you're like, oh no, I really killed them. And you can't do anything about it other than re-rolling the character, which at this point, there's no way I'm doing that. I just have to live with the choices we've made. But while we're there trying to help the spirits, I'm gonna let Thais tell you this one. She wanted me to write this down. There's one character, the scout who you're going to save or help, is just terrified. Go ahead. This is hilarious.
There's this one Argonian that it was just absolutely hilarious throughout this whole quest. Because at one point he goes, "Yeah, so I need to go, collect this, this, and this." And when I say I really mean you, because it's kind of really scary. So how about you go do that, and I'm just gonna be over here, okay? And then he kind of scampers off. Well, at the end of the quest, you have to fight this one guy, and you're up at the top of the steps and you're fighting this guy, and when he's dead, you turn around, and as you're heading down the steps, you see this Argonian actually like peeking his head out from behind the pillar, and when you speak to him, he goes, "As a matter of fact, yes, I was cowering here the whole time, but I was rooting for you." And I fell in love with this Argonian because he's so terrified, but he's so comical in how terrified he actually was.
Yeah, he sits there. He's like, I know I'm a coward, but I'm scared. I don't want to go. But he's hilarious. Like it looks like he's pressed up against the rock. Yes, I was cowering here, but I was rooting for you the whole time. It was hilarious. But now going from that humor, we found another quest when we were there. We found a lady, and I will give her a name because that's kind of a side quest, doesn't really stick to any of the main story. And her name was Bala. She was a dark elf who came to this necropolis. It was the city of the dead, going, I'm just trying to find his body. She was an Ashlander merchant, and she was trying to find her lover, who was a Dunmer nobleman. Now, if you know anything about the lore of the Elder Scrolls, the main Dunmer at this point in time followed the Tribunal. And the Tribunal are their living gods.
Praise
the
to
Ashland,
the three.
Praise to the three. are the living gods of the tribunal who essentially usurped the old Dunmers, the Chimers' old religion, which was Daedra worship. The Ashlanders believe that the three are heretics and therefore have nothing to do. They still cling to their Daedric worshipping ways. So there's a giant rift. Not only is this Dunmer that was her lover was a high-ranking nobleman, so even others in their sect would not be allowed to really, court him. She was in an outcast sect, so their love was totally forbidden. And she's so upset. She's like, he told me he was going to leave his wife and that we would be together. I just need to talk to him one more time. Can you help me find his body? I just need to talk to his spirit. So when you're trying to help, you find his spirit and you find him and his wife. And he laughs, going, "Oh, that Bala! It's no fun torturing our slaves or stuff. I really wanted to crush someone's spirit. So I found this little Ashlander woman and convinced her that I would leave my wife for her. Oh, what a fool she was, sitting here saying that I, a high-ranking nobleman, would leave my wife for her, a common Ashlander merchant." And you're like, he goes, "Go tell her that my love still burns for her and that I can't wait to see her again in the afterlife." And they both laugh. It's terrible.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah. Oh, so terrible. So when we get back to Bala, she's like, "I can't find. Did you find him?" And you have the choices. 3 choices were given: whether to tell the truth, what he really thought of her, to tell her the lie that he did love her and then he wanted to see art, say I didn't find anything. And we were talking.
We were talking, and I said to him that if it was me, I would want to know the truth. No matter how harsh it was, that I would want to know the truth. And that I think that this is what we should do for her, is we should tell her the truth. And he agreed with me, so that's what we went with.
And she was heartbroken. She's like, no, I don't believe it. He wouldn't do that. He loves me. He absolutely loves me. And that's where the quest ends. As we were adventuring a little further,
we teleport somewhere else, and I walks away from the way shrine, and I'm looking off in the distance, and he says to me, "Hey, babe, you might want to come look at this." So I turn around from where I was, and right as I turn to where he is, there's a ghost. And I walk up to this ghost, and it's actually Bala. And it was incredibly depressing that because we thought telling her the truth was the right thing to do, that she could not live with that.
And actually, this is the really devastating part, because we actually, as I was exploring, we were out after we found her body. I'm like, oh, she must have died. As I was out exploring south of Ebonheart, I'm picking flowers and I see a body laying near the water. I thought it was just an NPC who was, like relaxing in the water. And I hover over her and it said 0 hit points. And I look, I'm like, oh my goodness. I called her over and
he calls me over and he says to me, I need you to look at this body right here. And I'm like, okay, there's, and he goes, no, you need to hover over her with your pointer because you need to read the name. So I hover over this body, and it's the body of Bala. And that was it. I lost it at that point. I was in tears over this. Told her the truth, and that was it. She couldn't live with it.
It looks like she actually jumped off the bridge leading into Daggerfall, or not Daggerfall, into Ebonheart, the city, and that's where she died. Her body washed up on the stream. So she went back to Ebonheart, where her cavern or her caravan was and everything, and she jumped off the bridge and killed herself. That's not even part of the quest. That was something we found, and I was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah,
is terrible.
completely random. We found this, and I could not believe it. I was so very sad, and that's one of the moments where I wished that I could just take back my decision.
It was definitely heartrending. So the last couple points we have here is we have two. These ones are actually kind of more. We actually one more terrifying story that's sad, and two more that were kind of. We were in an area. I don't know where we were, but you want to go ahead and say what you were doing here?
So I went into this house, and it's in one of the major cities. And I went into this house, and I'm talking to this lady, and she's talking about one of her gods, and I decided, to be like, oh well, your god, sucks, and so I say this to her, and this dark elf was so upset with me for insulting her god that she goes, "Get out of my house right now," and then she ports me outside the city to the top of a rock with a tree surrounded by water. That's it. And I'm standing there going, "Hey, babe, I think this dark elf just teleported me completely outside her house. I have no idea where I am. And I'm just standing on this rock laughing at how humorous it was."
I remember where it was now. We were in Ebonheart, and she ported you on top of the head house in the Argonian Quarter. So she's just like, nope, gone. And just teleports her outside to the Argonian Quarter on top of the house. It was hilarious. We actually found a very, very disturbing guy. Now, this isn't even a quest. You just talk to him. Because we've been talking to all the NPCs, whether they offer us quest or not. And there's two men. This is in a place called Kraganmore. If you haven't been there, it's a house dress stronghold. And house dress is not part of the Ebonheart Pact. They did not join. They still have slaves, and they're in the poorest slave quarter area, these fine dressed dark elves. And when we talk to them, they're offering us, there's like, do you have something valuable, and it's your soul? And they're like, what we'll do is we will give you 500 gold for your soul, and in 1 month's time we will come and collect it. They were preying on the poor people who just were so sick of life. They were offering them a large sum of money so that they could go out, and they even said, "He's like, what do we care? They're going to go out, they're going to get some skooma and forget about their terrible lives, and then we'll come and kill them and collect their soul." They were paying people to go buy their skooma, do whatever it is, like they were preying on the poor and disenfranchised in the game. And then they're like, and then in a month we'll come collect your soul. So for a month you'll live high and pretty, and then we'll come kill you. And they're not even part of a quest. They're just down there to talk to.
At least they had the decency to say, and we're not vicious about it, we'll do it in your sleep. We will put you to sleep, and then we will take your soul. You won't even know. And it was just so creepy reading these, because it's two guys, and when you talk to them both, it was sad preying on these poor slaves like that.
It is really sad. The next thing is the last sad story we have is there was an Argonian who, what was his name? Laughs at something. That was his name. He was an Argonian who wanted to be a stand-up comedian. And
this one is all Ag's fault. All of it. Just blame Ag.
Anyway, no one likes him. He's not funny, but he wants to be. So he says, I've heard tale of a forbidden performance that was done, that if it wasn't performed perfectly, the Mirthless Order would come and kill you. I think it's just a legend, but I've heard it made all the Dark Elves just roll on the floor laughing if done correctly. Could you please go into the tombs and talk to the spirits of the ancestors and find out what the joke was? So you go in there, and all the ancestors are like, fine, we'll tell you if you're willing to risk death. So it makes no sense whatsoever. But when you get back to him, even the quest says you have the choice whether to tell him the joke or not to tell him. So again, we had another moral debate on what we should do when we got up there. Do we tell this Argonian this potentially forbidden joke that if he does it wrong, he dies? Or we don't tell him we didn't tell him we didn't find anything. And as she said, my fault, because I said to her, it's like, if we don't tell him, all he wants to do is make people laugh. If we don't tell him, what stops him from killing himself like Bala did? So we decide we're going to tell him. So he tells the joke,
Do you make a habit
and
of this house
a mage out of nowhere pops out from the Mirthless Order, says, "How dare you tell this joke in our presence?" and casts a fire spell and burns him up to ash. Yep.
I was pissed because he killed the only Argonian in existence that wanted to be a comedian. And it was just, I couldn't believe it. Because it all happened in an instant. He told the joke and then poof, he was a ball of fire and then a pile of ash. And I'm sitting there stunned, just, what? What is this? And then I look at Ag, and again, stunned face, gaping, mouth open at Ag. Like, what did you just do?
Well, that ends our Tales section today for the Tales of Tamriel and our adventures in Tamriel for this week. And all I gotta say is, overall, our storylines have been very sad in the Ebonheart Pact.
That's because you're
just
the worst paladin ever, and you keep trying to kill everybody and screw everything up.
trying to do right.
We're trying to do, like, good things, and, like, us wanting to tell Bala the truth was because, she should know the truth, and then, she jumps off a bridge, and we happen to find her body, and
then you
out
give
of
this
principle,
Argonian a funny joke, and he gets burned alive. I mean,
I
you guys are on a great
know.
streak right now.
I know, we really are. Out of principle, I cannot get rid of Bala's engagement chain. It is still in my inventory, and I don't think I will ever be able to get rid of it.
Well, I got rid of it already. It was 22 gold and I wanted it. Anyway, all right, it's that time for Deis's dramatic reading from a book in the Elder Scrolls series. This week, in honor of the Elder Scrolls Online, we are going to host a 4-part series by reading the biographies of the leaders in the faction war. Jarun the Scald King, Queen Aren, High King Emmerich, and finally the Tharn family, who currently control the Imperial City and the Ruby Throne. This week, because, well, I have the original host here, but it was Thace and I, the original hosts of Tales of Tamriel, are representing the Ebonheart Pact, but now we've also defected Krabby to the Ebonheart Pact, so all of us are Ebonheart Pact. Part 1 of our 4-part series will feature the book Jarun the Scald King, a biography of King Jarun's birth and his rise to power during the Second Akaviri invasion. Thace, take it away.
The author is Helgrir Lutvoice, Bard of Windhelm. Born in the Second Era, year 546, to Queen Mebjarn Flamehair, Prince Jorun grew up knowing that his elder sister, Nirnhild, was fated to take the throne. A singer of rare talent in a culture that reveres the power of the human voice, Jorun studied at Skald's Retreat on the Isle of Gold outside Riften. There he learned all that he could be taught by the most renowned bards of the Eastern Kingdom. He was dubbed the Skald Prince of Skyrim. Jarun spent most of his youth in artistic and philosophical pursuits, cultivating a broad array of artists, artisans, and performers throughout Eastern Skyrim and beyond. He spent time in Mournhold, Stormhold, Such, Elnhir, and is even reputed to have visited Solitude, the capital of Western Skyrim in disguise. Though he claimed to have no interest in politics or the business of rule, his natural leadership qualities made him the unofficial leader of the creative community wherever he found himself. Though he received little formal schooling in the arts of arms and warfare, As little as a prince of the Nords could manage anyway. Traveling across Tamriel was always a dangerous activity. His travels taught him less orthodox ways of dealing with trouble. Jorun was in Riften when the Akaviri of Dir Kamal assaulted the northeast coast of Skyrim in the Second Era year 522. Jorun 572, sorry. Jorun and his closest comrades, the Pack of Bards, fought their way up the coast to Windhelm, arriving just in time to see its gates breached by the Akaviri. Jorun hurled himself into the fray, street fighting being something he had experience with, but was unable to prevent the fall of the city and the slaying of Queen Mabjarn and the Princess Nirnhild, who both went down fighting. Wounded and devastated, Jorun barely escaped the sack of Windhelm alive. Feeling for the first time the responsibility of his royal birth, he decided to appeal to the Greybeards for aid, and so made his way, stealthily but quickly, to High Hrothgar. For reasons that have not been divulged, the Greybeards summoned a hero from Sovngarde, Wulfharth the Ash King, to fight at Jorun's side. Together, Wulfharth and Jorun, now claiming the title Skald King, rallied the Nords of eastern Skyrim, mustering an army from the Rift and the outer regions of Eastmarch, then fortifying Riften. Dur Kamal, moving south from Windhelm, found Riften defended by angry Nords inspired by the presence of Wulfharth and eager to fight. So Dur Kamal bypassed Riften and marched on Mournhold, the Akaviri leader assuming that the Nords would be glad to see him go. That choice was a fatal mistake. Jorun and Wulfharth led their army in pursuit of the Akaviri force, and a Nordic army entered Morrowind for the first time since the Battle of Red Mountain. The Akaviri army was caught at Stone Falls between the Nords and the Dunmer Legion led by Almexia. But the outcome of the great battle hung in the balance, until a surprise intervention from a phalanx of Argonian shellbacks, led by a trio of reptilian battle mages. The Akaviri line was broken, and they were driven into the sea, where they drowned by the thousands. The Ash King, his purpose fulfilled, returned to Sovngarde. In Windhelm, 3 weeks later, Jorun was crowned High King in the throne room of the Palace of Kings.
I love that book. Fantastic book.
That was good.
All right. Moving on to and we will be doing this every week for the next 4 weeks. Next week we will do Queen Aeren, followed by High King Emmerich, and finally the Tharn family. So, moving on to our emails for the week. From Facebook, we have a message from Adam. Hello, guys. Fellow Elder Scrolls fan getting pumped for the release of ESO. I found you by searching for Elder Scrolls podcasts to listen to my long drive. I'm a truck driver, and I've been listening to your podcast one after the other and enjoying every minute. Great show, guys. I'll be listening to you on Sunday. That was our first live episode. It'll be the last day of this trip, and I'll be crying because I'm missing most of opening day. I hope to see you all in Tamriel. Well, Adam, we're glad you liked the show, and we hope to see you in there. Of course, you can add us, which we'll say our names at the end of the show. 5-star reviews on iTunes. We actually had 3 this week, which is awesome. From Acoustics. As a casual gamer, it is really great to come across a cast that is well-informed but doesn't talk down to me because I don't play 10 hours a day. Great interaction, and even though they script the topics that will be discussed, the content is conversational, just like you were hanging out and talking with your friends. Keep up the good work. Acoustics, I'm going to give you a little insight into our scripting. My scripting literally is saying pretty much one line what we're going to talk about. There's no other scripting. So there's a rough outline we follow, but all the conversation really is conversation we have. None of it's scripted. Most of the work I do is literally saying, okay, this is what we're going to talk about. Like the discussion topic today, I wrote out the bullet points of saying we're going to talk about how mechanics changed and wrote down the bullet points, and that's all I said, and that's all we scripted. So Maybe I should do a little bit more work. I don't know. Should I script more? But yeah, so other than a outline, that's all we script. Next up, Ulftar. Yeah, Aluther. Just started listening. I love the idea you guys had in episode 9. It would be so cool to have the Imperial City be a dungeon with the small parts salvaged for arena. Keep it up. I really hope they do something like that. It'd be kind of weird with the arena, but I would love it to be a like an adventure zone dungeon kind of thing, like Darkness Falls and Dark Age of Camelot, where whoever the controlling faction was could go in there and raid the Daedra-filled city. I think that's really cool. Next up, and oh my goodness, the name. It's Why Not Maybe Be Sure. That is the name. Why Not Maybe Be Sure. Maybe sure. Why not? Maybe sure. All right, got it. Thanks for taking the time to do this every week. I look forward to Monday now because I know I'll have a new podcast available. I listen to other Elder Scrolls podcasts, but enjoy the in-game stories from y'all. It says y'all more. And of course, the dramatic book reading. I look forward to future episodes and playing ESO when it comes out on PS4. Keep up the good work. Thank you so much to everyone for commenting and giving us feedback and all this, and 5-star reviews on iTunes definitely help us. Facebook comments, that's always nice to have interactions and stuff like that. So we do thank all of our fans who do make this show such a blast for us to do. All right, it is time for my least favorite part of the show, albeit we're coming up on 3 hours actually for a show. Man, it's pretty neat. I like it. All right. I'm probably killing people here because they want to get back into the game. But all right, final thoughts. So, Thais, final thoughts for the episode.
It was a great show. I'm happy that we now have so many stories to share. I could not wait for the show today because we had so much to tell. Even though on the inside I am still very, very, very sad because just, poor Bala. I'm still sad about Bala. But it was a great show, and I just love it.
Krabby, what about you? What are your final thoughts for this evening?
Long show. That was good though. I'm really getting into the live streaming while doing the show though. It's fun. It's fun.
Cool. I like having the live chat room. We got a lot of interaction today, and that was a lot of fun. A lot of fun. All right. Well, I want to say thank you to my co-host for joining me this evening. As for myself, my goodness, as much as people tell me I'm the hero in this, I feel terrible because everything I seem to try to do for good turns out bad. And I just adore this game. It just keeps dragging me in, and I love it. And I want to thank everyone for listening to the podcast. If you want to help support the podcast, feel free to donate via our PayPal link on the website. If you want to contact us with questions, comments, criticisms, you can do so on the website for the show, talesoftamriel.com, or you can email the show at podcast@talesoftamriel.com. You can follow the show on Twitter at Tales of Tamriel or on Facebook at facebook.com/Tales of Tamriel podcast. Also, feel free to rate and subscribe to us on iTunes. That helps us out a lot. If you want to find us in-game, I am at Agelos. Krabby, what is your name?
At Krabby654.
Okay. And Thais will give hers at a later episode once she has it changed. Thank you so much for listening, and we hope you all enjoyed this episode of Tales of Tamriel. Stay moist, everyone. All right, cool.
I hope everyone